So as I'm preparing today, I'm going back through my journal and reading notes from the last couple of years, and I'm getting back into our playbook. And I realized one of the things that we need to do is to create an outline from start to finish using this book as a playbook to build a millionaire real estate business. So that when I hand you this book, I can also hand you an outline that says, here's how to read this book. Here's how to use this book in order to build a career worth having, a business worth owning, a life worth living, and legacies worth leaving. Mission statement. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Get your playbook, because we're all on a path to become millionaire real estate agents, to gross $1 million in commissions, to net $1 million in commissions, to receive $1 million in a year, and then to give away $1 million a year, because I walk like, talk like, look like, and have the checkbook of a millionaire real estate agent. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create the yellow brick road. And, there you go, my fancy artwork behind us. Yellow brick road goes where? Where does it go? Oz. Does it go anywhere else? No. There's only one destination, right? And it's Oz. What we're going to talk about is the yellow brick road to building a big real estate business. And it doesn't go anywhere else. If you stay on that road, you'll end up building a really big real estate business. All right. Step number one, think powered by a big why is the first thing that I would tell you to read in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And it's page 72 to 77. I'm not going to read that entire section, but that's your homework. Read page 72 to 77. I do want to read just a few things to you, though, from Think Powered by a Big Why. Now, why would I have that as your first assignment in reading the Millionaire Real Estate Agent in order to build a career worth having and a business worth owning? Why would we start with Think Powered by a Big Why? Don't take yourself off mute. Just don't raise your hand. Just talk to me.
So it's going to push you every day.
It's what pushes you every day.
It has to clear your mind.
Gives you clarity. I agree. Absolutely. It's what pushes you through the hard times. It gives you clarity on why you're doing what you're doing. And when things get hard, and will things get hard? Say yes. So one person said yes. That's awesome. When things get hard, it's what keeps you going. So here's what Gary Keller has to say in Think Powered by a Big Why. We've discovered that one thing all high achievers have in common. All high achievers, not most, all high achievers have in common is they are working for a big why. The big why is about having a purpose, a mission, or a need that in turn gives you focus. High achievers always have a big why. Why? Powering their actions. Let me say that again. High achievers always have a big why powering their actions. A great example of how a big why works in our lives is the day before vacation miracle. When you show up for work the day before vacation, are you working with focus and energy?
Yeah.
Yes. Are you getting distracted? No. Do you have a list of everything that needs to be done that day? Check, 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 in order for you to be able to go on vacation? Yes. Are you leaving any of those boxes unchecked? No. Now, what if you should? Do you work with more energy? I think I already said that, but it's important. Yes. The next question would be, what if you showed up like that every day? Brian, hand up. Talk to me.
Hey, John. So
yes.
I love that analogy. And sometimes what I do, and I think give feedback to people, is when I'm having a low day, and let's say it's already 11 a.m., and usually, let's say I'll stay until 5 or 6 in the office or working, I'll say, okay, I will work until 3, leave early today. And I put down all the things in a sheet of paper that I have to do by 3, so that then I earn the right to leave. And for some reason, it gets done.
There you go.
So
Yeah.
I think that's a good analogy.
There you go. Thank you, Brian. So write this down. A big why powered by big focus and big energy on the right actions equals success. If your pen's not moving, remember I'm a coach. I'm going to call you out. Told you to write it down. A big why powered by big focus and big energy on the right actions equals success. Gary goes on to say on page 73, it's simply incredible. And he's talking about the day before work miracle when he's saying this. It's simply incredible. How does this happen? Because this is like in triple bold print in the book, because a big why brings big focus and big energy, and a little why brings little focus and little energy. High achievers always have a big why. Now, the next thing that I want you to read as you're building a career worth having and a business worth owning, remember you're going to read page 72 to 77, the whole thing. But just for this morning, we hit some highlights. The next thing I want you to read, step 2. When we're finished, by the way, this is going to be, I don't know how many steps going to be in this process, but this is what we're doing every day going forward until we've completed this task. Step 2 is think big goals and big models. And page 78 to 80, and going straight to page 78 and just reading some highlights from that for you. The second foundational way that the millionaire real estate agent thinks, by the way, if you haven't caught on yet, we're starting with how you think, right? And because 90% of success is mindset, your foundation is how you think. The second foundational way the millionaire real estate agent thinks is to think big goals and big models. Skipping down several lines, if you have big goals, then to reach them, you will inevitably begin a quest for big models. The power behind having big goals is really about the power of acquiring big habits. So important. Lead generation, 3 hours a day, is a habit. When somebody describes you as someone who has lots of discipline, wow, I can't believe so-and-so. They're in the office every day. They're in lead generation every single day. It's amazing. You watch them and they're just so focused and they've got so much discipline. And my response to that would be wrong, completely wrong. What they have is they've created a big discipline. It's a habit. Thank you, Michael. They've created a big habit. The power behind having big goals is really about the power of acquiring big habits by beginning with the end in mind. Question, write this down. What does the end look like? Now, I can have that conversation about the end of the day, the end of the week, the end of the month, the end of the year, the end of my real estate career, or the end of my life. What does the end look like? Stephen Covey in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People teaches us to begin with the end in mind. And the story he shares in order to describe this habit is you're at a funeral. You walk in the door and there's lots of people in the room. And you know all of these people, they're friends, they're family members. And you're listening to them talk about the person whose life they're celebrating. And you realize it's your life they're talking about. What are they saying? What does that look like? A good exercise would be to sit down and write that down. How do you want to be described at the end? begin with the end in mind. What you must understand is that your habits will either serve as an empowering platform for the next level of your success or as a restricting box trapping you inside your current level. So we have good habits, we have bad habits, but we have habits. By focusing on big goals, you will be focusing on developing big habits that will always be appropriate to achieving your highest levels of success. All right, step number 3, think possibilities. And you're going to read pages 81 through 84. Now, this is the first 3 things you're going to do on this journey to build a career worth having, a business worth owning, a life worth living, and legacies worth leaving. And the third assignment is to read pages 81 through 84. So today we've got 3. Number 1, think powered by a big why, read pages 72 through 77. Number 2, think big goals and big models, read pages 78 through 80. Number 3, think possibilities, read pages 81 through 84. And that's it for today. And I'm going to share some thoughts with you from Think Possibilities. If you believe something is possible, you tend to focus on the constructive means necessary to make that possibility a reality. If you think something is possible, you're going to focus on how you're going to achieve that goal. I've also learned to believe the opposite. If you don't think something is possible, then you will be blinded to the ways it could be done. If you don't think something is possible, you will be blinded to the ways it could be done. You'll allow limiting beliefs to become a roadblock on the yellow brick road. Simple. If you think you're going to get there, if you're on a journey with a destination that is assured, then there are no roadblocks. You're either going to go right through them or around them or over them. But there is nothing that can stop you. You're on a journey with a destination that is assured. For anyone who wishes to achieve the very best, this becomes a defining moment. So one of the questions I would ask myself is, what are my defining moments? You know, one of the defining moments for me was 2002 when I got my real estate license and I was selling real estate part-time. And I had sold 1 house in my first 6 months. So I was crushing it, right? Sarcasm. And at the time, Colin was 5 years old, Lacey was 6 months old. Monica and I had a house in Palm Harbor, Florida that we had just bought. And we had bills to pay, expenses. And I was working as a sales trainer, not in real estate, in another field, for a company out of Dayton, Ohio. And I was doing really well, making money, but I wasn't having fun. And Monica said, why don't you get your real estate license? And my response was, heck no, I don't want to do that. Now, eventually I gave in and got my license. So guys, listen closely. For those of you who are married a couple of years, for those of you who are not married yet, when your wife tells you to do something, just do it. You're eventually going to do it anyways. And one of the things, Larry's laughing, one of the things that I've learned being married 30 years, I'm a lot smarter today, Monica would tell you yes, than I was 30 years ago, is my wife is smarter than I am. And when she tells me to do something, I'm just going to do it, right? All right, so Monica says, get your license. I'm like, okay, I'll get my license. I'm sold 1 house in the first 6 months. I'm still not sold on being a real estate agent, but I've got my license and I sold a house. It was kind of by accident. And 6 months in, the owner of the company I'm working for in Dayton, Ohio, calls me and says, we being the partnership that owns the company. By the way, I'm one of 3 people who have ownership in that company. 10%. They own the other 90%. So I'm the minority partner. He said, I wasn't included in we.
Yeah.
We being him and my other partner decided that they didn't like the idea that John Dietz was selling real estate part-time. Even though they were cool with it when I got my license, we talked about it. They said, cool, go do it. And I think 6 months in, they saw there was a possibility that I was going to do better than they thought I would. And maybe it would be a career change for me. And they didn't like that. So they decided to go on the offense and give me an ultimatum. And the ultimatum was quit selling real estate or you're fired. I go home that night and I get an email from Gary Keller. And I'm thinking, wow, Gary Keller sent me an email. How special am I? Now, this was 2002. We didn't have 182,000 agents like we do today. We probably had 20,000. But still, I'm thinking I'm one of 20,000 people who got this email. No. It went to everybody. The email is a story about a man. This is a defining moment. Before I started this long ramble, I said, write down your defining moments. This is one of mine. I go home that night and I get this email and I'm reading it, and it's a story with a picture of a man who is climbing a mountain in the middle of the night. Now, Madeline, I don't know why anybody would do that, but it's the story, so just go with it. And he falls. Now he's got this rope tied around him and it stops him from hitting the ground. Cool. He's hanging onto this rope. Super important. And he calls out for help. And the voice comes back, let go of the rope. What would you do? Would you let go of the rope? He didn't. And the next morning, a group of hikers come along and they find him 3 feet from the ground, frozen, dead, because he was hanging onto this rope out of fear. Super important that you get that part. And the caption underneath the picture was, what are the ropes that you're hanging onto out of fear? Now, I immediately knew it. Gary Keller's talking to me. He knows I've got this situation going on. He knows I got this call today, and he sent this email to me because he wants to inspire me to let go of the rope. And I let go of the rope. I called one of my partners and I said, okay, so I've thought about it overnight. And if the ultimatum is I either quit selling real estate or I'm fired, I guess you're going to have to fire me. And they did. And I went from making over $200,000 a year, company car, insurance, to nothing. I got to turn the car in. So now I need to go find another car, and I've got no money. And I've got a 5-year-old and a 6-month-old and a family to take care of. Defining moment. What did I discover? It's 2 words. Big why. Immediately, big why. Now remember, I sold 1 house in my first 6 months. In the 6 months that followed, I sold 60 houses. Not because I'm good, not because I've got any special abilities. Actually, at that time, I pretty much sucked. But I had to. What could you do if you had to? Say anything. Say everything. Defining moment. What's yours? Okay, talk to me. What'd you hear? By the way, recap. 3 assignments for day 1 of creating a blueprint, building our yellow brick road that goes to Oz. Day 1 of creating that blueprint. in The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Number one, read pages 72 to 77. Think powered by a big why. Number two, think big goals and big models, 78 to 80. And number three, think possibilities, page 81 to 84. Tomorrow, I'll give you three more. Now, when we're finished, what will we have? That. You'll have a yellow brick road that leads to gross $1 million, net $1 million, receive $1 million, give away $1 million. What did you hear? What are your ahas? Larry, talk to me.
I'm always shy about talking, but what you say is absolutely true. And I've had it even, in my own life, a couple instances when I was in high school, which is, decades ago. I was sitting in a bookkeeping class and I thought, I was I don't know, junior maybe in high school. And I said to myself, I want to be a CPA because that's what I'm going to do. So I decided in high school I was going to do that, and that was my total focus. And I graduated, from the University of Iowa. I did graduate work at Notre Dame, but I became a CPA and worked for one of what now is the Final Four, but it's KPMG Pete Marwick. And I did, I was totally focused, and I didn't really let anything sway me from that goal or objective. And one real quick thing, and I'll quick monopolizing the conversation, but I did the same thing in my sporting life. You played football, and I did too. But I had the opportunity, and I took it to play for the University of Iowa in a D1 school. And I'm 5'10". I'm 200 and some pounds at the most. It's a different game than it was when I did it. But I said, if they've got the confidence to give me a scholarship, because I was a scholarship player, if they got the confidence to take a little guy like me with in a D1 school with a 4-year scholarship, I'm going to take advantage of it. Because I have other opportunities for smaller schools like Drake University in Des Moines and things like that. But I said, this is D1. You only got to get one shot at that brass ring, and by God, I took it hard. I lettered 2 out of the 4 years. First year, freshmen weren't even eligible anyway, so I'm that old. But it's you set your mind to something and you'll accomplish it. And so I have 2 of those instances even in my own life that worked out that way.
I love that story. I knew I liked you.
Sports is the best motivator because it teaches you to do a team sport. I did football and wrestling, and both of those are sports where you have to rely on yourself. And football, you have to rely on the people next to you to do the right thing, and it teaches discipline. And those are the biggest things for me that have carried over into my adult life.
Very nice. Thanks for sharing that. That was awesome. Anybody else? What'd you hear? Diane.
Well, everything you're saying isn't, because I mark my pages when I listen to you, or I know James Shaw has gone over this during COVID. It's just a reminder, because sometimes you don't know who may be waking up and thinking, I just want to give up, right? Or they're here, but they're not here. Or they just don't believe in themselves anymore. And so it's just a reminder of the saying is to make the impossible possible. And so thank you.
Find a way where there is no way.
Right.
Yeah, love that. If you think something's possible, you'll find a way. If you don't, you'll find an exit. Clarissa.
Okay, so I'm going to try and put it in your terms.
Louder.
I never played football.
Louder, so people out there in Zoom world can hear you.
So I'm going to try and put it in your terms because you love football and I never played. So I think what you're trying to do through this process, because you've had a aha epiphany moment, is to take the playbook, have us go through the playbook, extract and highlight what we glean from the playbook, create our own play, document it, so that at the end of the journey, we've created.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
So here's what you're saying. Clarissa, if I gave you this book and I said, here, read this book. Now you're going to get value, right? Of course you are. And if I said, here's your playbook to build a big real estate business. You bought Starbucks, you bought a Chick-fil-A franchise. Here's the manual. Here's how you're going to build this business and so that it succeeds, and success is guaranteed when you follow the playbook. If I just give you the playbook and say, read this, you're going to get value. However, if I give it to you and I also give you an outline of what to read in what order, you're going to have a blueprint to build a successful real estate business. To build a career worth having, a business worth owning. There's a reason those things are talked about in the order that they are when you hear the mission statement of Keller Williams Realty, because we all start out getting into production first, build a career worth having, and then the next step is to build a business worth owning. Now we're talking leverage and we're talking people. Success results through people. If we recite Y4C2Ts, it begins with win-win or no deal, and it ends with success results through people. We're building a big business worth owning, a life worth living, which means not only do I have a mega agent business that is paying me over $1 million a year, and I also have an incredible life with my family. I'm going on vacation 2-3 weeks at a time. Talk to any mega agent who's not following this model and ask them how often do they go on vacation. You'll be shocked with what you hear. It's almost never. Then ask them, do you work when you're on vacation? The answer is always yes. I'm on a trip one time. When the kids were younger, we would go to a lake in Tennessee every summer. That was our summer vacation. And we're on vacation 2 weeks at a time. And my business is running itself while I'm gone. And the phone rings. Colin must have been, I don't know, 10, 12 years old. Phone rings and Colin picks up the phone and says he's on vacation. And he hangs up the phone. And I looked at him and I said, who was that? And he said, I don't know. I'm like, I hope I didn't just lose a listing. But I could do that. I was building a life worth living, experiences worth giving, and legacies worth leaving. It's powerful. All right, we're going to jump. It is 9:37. It's time to get to work. We're going to go into scripts and role play like we do every day. For those of you who are watching on Facebook, we stop live stream when we go into scripts and role play. If you want to be a part of this, the only way you're going to be able to be a part of it is to get on the Zoom channel. If you don't have that link, email me, johndietz@kw.com, John Diet with a Z at kw.com, and I'll send you the Zoom link so that you could be a part of script and role play, or come to Coral Springs and sit in the room with us. We do that every day. And I will be back tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. for Survive to Thrive, and time to get to work. So what's work? Work is 20 conversations, not 19, not 18, not 17. Because when I have 17 conversations, because it's close enough, or I can always make it up tomorrow, which you won't, because tomorrow is today and there's another tomorrow. I didn't get the $1 million listing that I could have gotten because I didn't have the 18th conversation. And the saddest thing is I'll never know that I didn't get the opportunity because I didn't have the conversation. Make care calls, not sale calls. Have care conversations, not sales conversations. Always lead with gratitude and bring value to every single conversation. Focus on getting an appointment, getting a referral, adding somebody to your database, and building a relationship. Find somebody today that is thinking of selling their home, whether it's 30 days from now, 6 months from now, or a year from now, doesn't matter, because you're looking for opportunity, period, not just opportunity right now. Get face-to-face with somebody today that is thinking of selling their home. And you will be face-to-face with 250 people over the next 50 weeks. That's 250 people in your pipeline that you're going to follow up forever because you reject rejection. Because no is not a word that lives in your vocabulary. No simply means not yet. Remember that people will never change their mind, but they will make a new decision based on new information. Michael Topo, coming to you. So when you follow up forever, you're creating emotional proximity, which simply means they're going to hire the person who's closest to them when they get serious about selling their home. And when you follow up forever and they make a new decision based on new information, that new decision, Michael, will be to hire me. There you go. Love that. All right, everybody, make it a great day.